Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Alex's Anabolic Kitchen. Today we will be making a super simple 20-minute macro-friendly pizza. And while I do like to focus on anabolic recipes usually in my kitchen, this is super high in protein, but I want to talk specifically about my favorite type of dieting when I'm off season, which is if it fits your macros and or flexible dieting. So the first thing we're going to want to do when getting the pizza ready is preheat our oven, so that way as soon as the crust is ready we can just throw it in there. Now we're going to be making a large pizza. Usually when I do this pizza I make it in a smaller one with a pizza pan. However, everybody in the house is hungry, so I'm just going to be doubling up the regular recipe and we're going to kind of go from there and see how it turns out. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put all our cheeses into a bowl. So I want to use 120 grams of low-fat ricotta cheese. People today, for some reason, want to make low-fat food the enemy. I'm not sure where this misconception stemmed from. I know growing up personally, my mom would never buy diet anything. She said if you're going to have it, you're going to have whatever that may be, the way it was meant to be. But I don't think that's necessarily correct. Maybe if you do have a small appetite, sure, eat in moderation. However, like I said, I like to do flexible dieting. So that basically entails if you pick whatever macronutrients you need. So you need proteins, you need carbs, you need fats, and from there you determine what percent of your daily intake there will be compromising. So myself personally, I eat about 200 grams of protein a day, 200 grams of carbs a day, and about 30 grams of fat. So because of that, I still like to eat what I enjoy. I just choose low fat everything, which brings us to our next ingredient, which is light mozzarella. So we're going to put 112 grams of mozzarella in with our ricotta cheese. So now that our cheeses are in a bowl together, we're just going to throw them in the microwave quickly to soften them, so that way they blend more easily. I should have cleaned them. We're just going to put that in for a minute. While that's warming up, we're going to mix all our dry ingredients. Like I said, I do like to measure everything just so that way I do have the most accurate numbers when calculating my macros. If you're off by a little bit, it's not the end of the world. At the end of the day, it's calories in, calories out based on what you want to do. The first ingredient we're going to be using is some all-purpose flour. When you're making any type of crust, you do need a little bit of flour. I know a lot of people will try to just make everything protein based. If you're thinking anabolic protein, just make stuff with protein because then it's going to have a rubbery taste. I want to try to use as minimal amount of flour as possible just because, like I said, I do like to have a higher protein count in most of my meals. So we're just going to add 80 grams of flour to the bowl. Next dry ingredient we will be using is some organic coconut flour. This is arguably one of the most important ingredients you could have in your kitchen cupboard. It is a staple in mine. Basically, if you're baking anything, the coconut flour is going to act as the concrete to your crust, to your bread, to your whatever you're making. It's going to hold it together. It's just going to give it more shape so it doesn't fall apart. People tend to think that coconut flour has an overpowering taste, but given the amount of cheese used in this recipe, I don't believe you taste it at all. Again, I could be biased because I do like coconut, but I will let you guys be the judge of that when you make the recipe for yourself at home. So we'll be adding 22 grams of coconut flour. Last ingredients we will be using for our dry ingredients is baking powder. Like I was saying, super hard to find. This is the best I could do, is buying it in bulk because every store is sold out. I'm going to be using about 6, 7, I'm going to say 8 grams of this. Just as you guys can tell, I'm terrible at using actual measuring ingredients because I use my scale for everything, so I usually just dump it in there. But for viewer purposes, I am trying to use utensils and measuring tools today. Now at this point, our cheese should be ready, so I'm going to just quickly dry mix these ingredients all together. Takes 2. I will set that to the side while we go back and get our cheese. So when we remove our cheese, it's going to have a more cohesive, soft, chewy melted cheese look. This will make blending a lot easier. And our final ingredient for the crust is egg whites. Arguably the cleanest source of protein you can have. Before bed, I always eat egg whites. It makes you the most anabolic. I try to add them to almost every recipe I make. And honestly, it's flavorless and it adds to whatever you're eating. So add egg whites to everything basically if you want to increase protein in your diet. So we're going to be putting 200 grams of egg whites in here. So now the next step is to mix all of these ingredients together. This is probably the hardest part. It's just time consuming. It takes about, all right. Now that it's blended as best as possible, we will be combining the wet mixture to our dry. So we're gonna grab, all right, so now we're trying to mix all the ingredients together until it is all of the same consistency. It's gonna kind of give you a, if you ever made slime when you were a kid, that's the same consistency we're going for. You'll be able to pull it apart easily, but it'll still kind of stick together. You'll see what I'm talking about. Now, I know this isn't what typical dough crust looks like, but bear with me, it'll be so much better than your regular pizza dough. This is where I get kind of creative with the recipe. I am going to be adding some garlic powder to the crust. That's totally optional, does not make a difference of how it's going to cook. I just like garlic, so the more garlic the better. Stir it up a little bit more, and it's time to place it on our tray. Usually with the pizza trays, it has holes in it, so you're going to want to put parchment paper just so it doesn't seep through, since it isn't. It's like more of a wet consistency rather than a dry, as most doughs are. Once it's all on there, you're going to use your spoon and spread it out to all the edges. This is what's going to fill in the holes and add a little bit of moisture so your crust isn't so dry. So we're going to wet our fingers, and essentially we're going to dab in where all the holes are, and as you'll see, it'll kind of make it stick together, get a bit of better consistency. We're going to be putting it in for about 10 to 12 minutes. I am going to keep an eye on it, so I'll have the oven light on. Just as soon as it's golden, we're going to take it out because we are putting it back in after. We're just cooking the dough because it is a cheese base. If we cooked everything together like you would a normal pizza, it would kind of just give it a big mush look to it, because there is, like, you know, when you're cooking pizza, you're putting like cheese on top, you're putting like the pizza sauce, but because it's not the same consistency as dough, because we're making it less carbs, so I guess arguably it's like a keto pizza. So we're just going to cook it as a base to let it harden, and then we will be just putting on the toppings. Now that we're waiting for our pizza crust to cook, we're going to get the toppings of your choice ready for, I don't know, for the pizza. So what I'm going with today is some chicken, jalapeno, and onions. I did already pre-cut the onions yesterday. I tend to not count the vegetables as calories because most of it is just soluble fiber. It helps you hit all your micronutrients, which I think a lot of people think when you do flexible dieting that it's just eating Oreos and cereal and stuff, and like, yes, you can have that because with flexible dieting, and if it fits your macros, you aren't restricting yourself of anything, but you're still trying to hit certain targets, and you're not going to be getting 200 grams of protein by eating Oreos. The reason I'm going with chicken as my topping, you could always go with pepperoni or whatever you want, but because I eat such a high protein diet, chicken's another really good lean source of protein. For the recipe, we're going to use 140 grams of chicken. Now, another thing that you need to kind of track when doing flexible dieting is try to not cook with as much oil as possible. I think that's a big mistake a lot of people do, is not tracking their oils, and that can add up super quickly. So for the chicken, for example, I don't use any oil to cook it. I just put it on the barbecue and it turns out like that. Same with seasoning. Look for 0 to low calorie seasonings, because you don't want to be adding extra macronutrients through spices if you're trying to feel satiated, you know? Like adding 5 grams of coconut oil here and there might seem harmless, but those numbers add up, and at the end of the day your numbers are going to be totally off, and you're going to think you're eating at a deficit when really you're eating at a surplus, because you're adding all these extra oils and condiments and you're not counting them. Also, I know I probably contradicted myself saying I don't, like it's important to count oils and I don't count vegetables. I mean, you can count your vegetables. I'm just saying you're not going to be overeating on 100 grams of cauliflower. Most vegetables are so low calorie dense that they make minimal differences in your macro tracking. Like 100 calories of broccoli versus 100 calories of peanut butter, for example, size is ridiculous. Like you could have cups of broccoli and like a tablespoon of peanut butter for the exact same amount of calories. So again, that's just kind of a trial and error. You learn which foods you do need to track and you don't need to track. If you're just picking at celery, for example, do I think it's necessary to track your one celery stick? Not necessarily. It depends how regimented you are, but I think you should have some flexibility because it's called flexible dieting and you don't want it to become an obsession, but you just want to kind of be aware of what you're putting into your body. These are ready. We should check on our crust and it should be about time to take it out of the oven. We are putting it back in, but you can tell it is golden and ready to be basted. Like in any other pizza recipe, is put on our tomato sauce. I usually go with a pretty simple one. It doesn't need to be organic, but I just like to use, if I can, the least ingredients as possible, just because then you know exactly what you're having. Next, what we're going to want to do is put on all our toppings and we cover it with the cheese. Some people put the cheese first. I just think it gives it a more aesthetically more, I don't know, I just enjoy having my cheese melted on top of my ingredients. Again, it's your discretion. Do what you want to do because there are no rules in Alex's Anabolic Kitchen besides look good, feel good, play good, eat good. I literally always forget to take the parchment paper off the second time around. When you're cooking on broiled, things are really hot. Parchment paper, keyword, it burns when things are really hot, so try to remember to take it off. And it should only be a couple minutes. Just look to see when the cheese is melted. We're also going to be making a very anabolic dipping sauce. Another thing that's super easily adaptable to flavor is Greek yogurt. I always go 0% Greek yogurt. 'Cause like, with Greek yogurt, literally whatever flavoring you put in there, it is going to take that flavor. So I like to cook with fresh garlic. This isn't necessary. I could just use garlic powder. I just have the time and it tastes a little better. Oh, I feel like it's ready. Yeah, burnt at the back a little, so let's take that out. Now, because it is so low in calories and we are using it for entire pizza, I will probably put the entire 175, which is... Alright, now that we have the Greek yogurt, we're going to add in the garlic. Flavor God. They have a lot of 0-calorie products and they make flavoring things so much easier. Add it because we're going with the ranch and garlic flavor. So pour that in there. For one slice, including toppings, everything, the cheese and the dipping sauce, you're looking at 93 calories for one slice of pizza, which is, find me a pizza that has 93 calories. Like I said, flexible dieting is my absolute favorite way to diet because it's the diet that's not dieting. You can eat whatever you want. There are no rules. So that was another episode of Alex's Anabolic Kitchen. On our next episode, we will be talking about volume eating and why that is a lifesaver. Thank you. She's like, how do they do it? You look jacked today.
Do I? I did arms yesterday.
It's kind of more like a deep dish tasting, like, you know.